Good morning. My name is Jamie Hawken. Welcome to the Terry Third Thursday this month. I'm a proud member of the Alumni Board. Also, I co-chair the Terry Third Thursday with my co-chair partner, Brad Turner. Brad, thanks for all your help. Unfortunately for y'all, I'm filling in for Dean Ayers today, who unfortunately couldn't be here. He's recovering from surgery, doing well. So, as Christine said, stick to the script. So I'm going to stick to the script here this morning. So welcome. We appreciate everybody getting up bright and early and joining us. This facility is, quite frankly, just awesome to have here in Atlanta. A great opportunity for events like this. It's also the base operation for our students here in Atlanta. And then more importantly, I think more importantly, obviously it's a great base for our students, but also for our alumni and really for networking. So take advantage of this space. We want you to take advantage of this space, and it's just a great place for people to come together. And so as alumni, it's a good venue for us to utilize, so please keep doing that. So as a member of the Terry Third Thursday committee, I will tell you, it has been a very well-oiled machine, but it takes a lot of work, honestly. So I do want to thank the members of our committee. I want to thank Hardman Knox. He's the chair of the Alumni Board this year. He's done a great job of pushing us, kind of really to strive to just raise the bar as far as the speaker series goes, and I think we've started off doing that this year. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the staff here. I didn't see Natalie, but Christine and they are unbelievable. They really keep us on track and make this thing go. So please, let's just give them a round of applause. I don't even see them in here, but they do a great job. And then like anything else, none of this would be possible without our sponsors. So I want to thank our corporate sponsors, the folks at Synovus. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your sponsorship. And then we also have two media sponsors, the Atlanta Business Chronicle and the Public Broadcasting of Atlanta. So thank them as well. Appreciate their sponsorship. This is our last Terry Third Thursday of the year. So we're going to take a break in December for the holidays, but we will be back in January. So look forward to seeing you all here in January. I think we've got a pretty good slate. I think we've really started strong, quite frankly, after coming out of the pandemic with our first three speakers. But I think we're going to continue that going forward in January. So look forward to seeing everybody back here January and through the rest of the year. One of the things Dean Ayers wanted us to mention, and I think it was mentioned at the last meeting, the Atlanta Economic Outlook Series will kick off December 13th at the Georgia Aquarium. Dr. Mark Vittner, he's the managing director and senior economist at Wells Fargo, is going to deliver the national forecast for 2022. And then Dean Ayers will focus on the state's economic performance. You can go register on the Terry website. After the holiday break, what they will do is they'll do a road show across the state where they'll go to 8 other cities to deliver just the economic outlook. I work for Georgia Power. Georgia Power is a sponsor. I can tell you as a sponsor, it is an unbelievable event, a lot of great information, and it's also a great networking opportunity as well. A lot of people. So please go check it out. Please attend. I promise you it would be worthwhile. So, Christine, that was one that I really had to stay on script, so just so y'all know. So with that, it is truly my honor and pleasure. I get to introduce Mr. Chris Womack, our speaker this morning. Chris is the chairman, president, and CEO of Georgia Power, was named to that role this year. Chris started in the Southern Company system back in 1988. But prior to that, what's interesting about Chris's background is Chris worked on Capitol Hill. He was a legislative aide and a staffer. So he spent a lot of time in D.C., and then he came into the Southern system. Obviously, he's progressed pretty well, has held a number of leadership positions throughout. A lot of those positions were in external affairs. His most recent position was president of external affairs for Southern Company. But I think what's unique about Chris is if you look at his background, he also ran our HR group. He also ran all of our plants, our facilities. So he's got a pretty broad-based experience behind what he does for us each and every day. And I suspect he would argue that despite all of his professional accolades, he's probably equally as proud or more proud of all the things he does in our community. Chris is truly somebody that wants to make our state and our city better. And quite frankly, as an employee, it's very good to see. It motivates you to want to do more. He sits on the board of the East Lake Foundation. He's also on the national board for the First Tee. And I can go on and on. He's probably going to tell me to be quiet and get down, so I'm going to do that here in a second. He also was recently named to the Ports Authority Board, so if your Christmas gifts are stuck on a container ship, I'm sure he can handle that for you. But I am going to leave you with one tidbit, and that is Chris is currently in the middle of pursuing his doctorate degree in political science. So when you say you got a lot of stuff going on, he's got a lot of stuff going on. So welcome, Chris Womack.
Thank you, Jamie, and let me say good morning and thank you for that kind introduction. I mean, I've got so many colleagues and friends here. I don't know why you guys chose to get up and do this. We could have done this, at the house or somewhere else. And a lot of this you have heard before, but it's indeed a pleasure to do this. I tell you, it's an exciting period for me, being the 15th chairman, president, and CEO of Georgia Power Company. And this, Georgia Power Company has a long history, and we were talking about the lakes, Lake Rayburn and Lake Burton, and all the activities that occurred there, which was kind of the foundation of our business, was hydro dams in terms of how we initially began to harness energy to make power, and then we kind of moved down south here to Atlanta, out at Plant McDonough, old Plant Atkinson, and kind of formed this company in 1907, merged it with the old streetcar rail company, and that's where we began to harness power, and we had all this energy, and we said we got to do something with it. So we got to sell it. We got to get people to use it. We got to electrify this state, and so we formed the first economic development group, and to kind of promote and sell and create this wonderful brand of Georgia to use all this energy, electricity that we're making. So it's a thrill to be here, to continue the legacy of this company and all the great things that we have been doing. It's a lot different now than it was in 1907. I mean, I have to admit, and fundamentally we're still that same old power company that you've always known. But I'll tell you, fundamentally we're still the same, but there are a lot of things that are incredibly transformative, that are a lot different than it was, say, back in 1907, and even back just a little bit more than 10 years ago. I was looking at the market just the other day and looking at Rivian when it IPO'd. I don't know if you guys been paying attention to Rivian. And so Rivian now today probably has a market cap of about $150 billion. And so when you look at and then Lucid, just a little short of $100 billion market cap, everybody's making the bets on electric vehicles. And so I guess you would imagine we're pretty excited about that as well. An opportunity to use the product. And I mean, there's rumors that a plant may be coming here east of Atlanta down I-20, and so we'll see how that works out. But it kind of speaks to a lot of things I think that are happening in the industry and technology, and it says kind of, I mean, where things are going. And so it's a real wonderful time as we look at the technology that's occurring and how it's changing our business fundamentally. The core, we're going to make it, we're going to move it, we're going to sell it, we're going to do all the wonderful customer service things that we have done for so many years. And we talk about COVID, and as we have transitioned through this, as we're still transitioning through it, but you look at it, I mean, our crews never stopped. As many of us kind of learned to navigate Zoom and Microsoft Teams or whatever platform that you have used as your virtual communication tool of choice. Our crews never stopped. I mean, they were always at the plants. You had an interruption at your house. We had a troubleman there to restore service as quickly as possible, and we're going to continue to do that. And so, but let me talk about some other things. I mean, I'm going to ramble through a few things, and then I'd love to get some questions for you, because it's incredibly exciting. it's a little bit kind of where's it going? Because you see inflation at around what they said, Georgia 7.9%, kind of the highest inflation rates we've seen in this country in some 30 years. You know, interest rates has been basically at zero for heavens for so long. I mean, I remember the first house I bought back in 1982, my interest rate was right at 15%. I thought I got a great deal. I mean, so you say kind of where are things going, and what does it mean for the broader economy? But I worry about kind of what it means for us, and then I'll say a few things about. Yeah, I mean, Jamie's right. I mean, I was born and raised in South Alabama, a little town called Greenville, about 50 miles south of Montgomery, and I mean, I had a very, very simple life, and what mattered to me was where I was going to go fishing that next afternoon. And I mean, that's just what mattered. I mean, I would go hunting in the morning and shoot something and kill it. My grandmother would clean it and cook it and prepare it before I went to school. So just a basic, simple life that I had. And so I never thought about doing stuff like I'm doing now. And so one of the things that's really, 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 really important to me is how do we make sure that those of us that have been blessed with these great, wonderful, fortunate opportunities, that we're giving back, that we're doing things to help others. And yeah, we all get excited about making more money, doing more things, buying bigger boats and buying more houses and giving Buzz Law more money to manage for us. And we thank Buzz for all the work that he and his colleagues at Synovus do for a lot of us. But I think we have to also, in the roles and responsibilities that we have, we got to be very seriously and committed to making sure that we're trying to make this world a better place, and that we're helping somebody out. And so that's some things that I care about. I got one slide. Can you pull that slide up? And I'll use this kind of fundamentally talk a little bit about our business. Who's got it? Okay. Now, I think there's one more. That's it. And fundamentally, this speaks to, I think, a big story about our company in terms of how we have made energy in the past. And so if you look at the energy mix of our company in 2010, and you see that 50%, over 50% numbers. So today, you'd say, how are we keeping these lights on? Plant McDonough was a coal plant. We've converted that to a gas facility. And if you look across our fleet, 50% of the energy would have come from coal. And today you see that has declined to around 13%. And a lot of factors have gone into that, but fundamentally, I think that speaks to a lot of things that are so different than when my friend Craig Bars and others were running around the company, leading it and making incredible decisions. You say, what has happened? Yeah, I mean, you all hear about the climate change conversations, you hear about global warming, you hear about a lot of things from the ESG community, environmental, social governance community, in terms of everybody focused on decarbonization. And so, yeah, we've made those decisions, one, because of economics. And we never thought that we would see gas prices where they are. We thought gas prices would always be volatile, but they'd be in the high $6, $8 a million BTU. And we just never thought we'd see them where they were, being less than $3 for a long run period of time. And also, we never thought we'd see renewables. I mean, I go back in the early days of solar. Solar was, what, double digits, like 14, almost high as 20 cents a kilowatt. And we never thought we'd see it come down to something now less than 3 cents. We have seen just incredible efficiency in how solar panels are made. I mean, they're just producing a lot more energy. At the same time, the manufacturing process has gotten more efficient, so the price of that source has just dropped down. And so you just see the fundamental changes that has occurred in our business from an environmental standpoint, but also from an operational standpoint. And that's going to continue. I mean, we've retired now over the past 5 years, some right around 4,000 megawatts of coal. And we made some announcements just the other day in terms of some compliance strategies with some new guidelines that we see another 4,000 or so that also will be retired between now and 2028. And so you'll see continued fundamental changes that will occur in that fuel mix. We're building a great big nuclear plant down around Augusta, Georgia. That's going to add another 2,000 megawatts of capacity on our system. Yeah, it's been a slog. It's been hard. It's been very, very difficult. When we decided to make that investment, we saw gas prices being volatile right after Katrina. We saw gas prices peak around $14 a million BTU, and we thought, okay, a baseload nuclear unit would be the right thing for our company, for the state, but also for this entire country. After we decided to do that, we never saw this thing called Fukushima that happened in Japan. We never think we'd have a contractor that would go bankrupt building this project. We never thought we'd experience COVID in terms of, we did keep the project going in the midst of COVID. At the same time, productivity took a great, great big hit. I mean, so we've had a lot of challenges. The thing I'll tell you, the thing I'll commit to you is that we're going to get it done. And we're going to get it done right. And I think we're going to be very, very proud that we made this fundamental baseload investment in the system that's going to be good for Georgia, going to be good for this country. It's going to be good for the energy platform because, yeah, we're going to continue to move toward more renewables. You're going to see more solar on the ground across the state. You're going to see us, I mean, we're looking at some different wind technology. I mean, wind here at normal levels and elevations here in the state is not strong, not strong enough, but we're looking at taller towers in terms of capturing wind capacities. We're going to make also additional investments in battery resources. We just installed a major battery, about 60 megawatts of batteries on our grid just this year, and about another 20 forthcoming. And so you're going to see more battery storage that's going to be brought into this grid. So you're going to continue to see our grid, our system, transition to a lot more renewables and become clean. We at Southern Company and across our entire company have made a commitment to be at net zero come 2050. We're already halfway there, and I think we'll get there sooner. We're going to continue to invest in technology to do things like capture carbon directly out of the air. We're going to look at gas units in terms of capturing the carbon and storing it and sequestering. I mean, so just a lot of things that are incredibly exciting in terms of how we make energy. At the same time, you know, we say, what else must we do? And so we're also excited about things like electric vehicles. And as you see companies like Rivian making a bet that they can sell 1 million pickup trucks, Lucid, everybody, there's about 17 million cars, I think, that are sold throughout the course of a year. So everybody wants to sell about a million here, 1 million there. And so you look at companies like Rivian and people making the bet on that company saying, how many are they going to be selling in 2025, and looking at those forward cash flows and saying, that might be the next Tesla, and people don't want to miss that bet. And so I think that's why you're seeing that big run up. But I think it's reflective of kind of this whole technology world that we're seeing and moving toward this new adventurous future. And so, yeah, will we see driverless vehicles in this state? I think their answer is yes. I mean, it's an exciting future, and something that we're preparing for. I mean, I think a lot of you will have EVs and you'll have charging facilities in your garage. And one day we'll say, as you fully charge your vehicle, put it back on the grid, because we're going to need some of that power. And so we're going to collaborate with you on doing those kinds of things. You may have Tesla Powerwalls or Generac batteries, backup batteries in your garage as well. And we're going to put in demand side programs so we can collaborate and partner with you on how that system operates. It's going to be bi-directional. So we're going to do a lot of things that we have never thought about doing before. And as we retire these coal facilities, the system is going to be a lot more distributed. Things like microgrids will be at your own home, at your own business, at your own community. You may have a community solar program, but a lot of things that will be a lot different. But it's something that we're thrilled and excited to partner with you as we move down that path. Some things are not going to change. One of the things we have been excited about at our company for the entire time that we've been started has been making sure that we're good community partners. And so as Jamie spoke, I mean, I chair the East Lake Foundation Board. Everybody here in our company, we challenge them to make sure that they're involved and committed to doing things to in fact make a difference, whether you in Gwinnett or whether you're in Lowndes County down around Valdosta, no matter where you are, everybody's involved in helping make a difference. I mean, I look at what we've done at East Lake. East Lake, some 25 years ago, had the highest crime rate zip code in the country and the lowest graduation rate in the state of Georgia because of the vision of a Tom Cousins, Egbert Perry, and a lot of other people. And folks like us partnering with them, now you have this thriving community, this thriving neighborhood that has a graduation rate of about 99%, and all those kids go to college. After the first graduation class, 75% of them are still in college. You got a community now that had no grocery stores, had no banks, had no financial institutions in that neighborhood. That food desert has been removed. And you look at the investments and what has happened to that total community. We want to see those things happen all across the state. And so we're having similar conversations in places like Augusta, in places like Valdosta, in places like Savannah. I mean, how can we make sure that in distressed and disadvantaged communities, we are partnering with other businesses, partnering with the communities, partnering with the governments to make sure that we're lifting up all the communities across this state. I mean, because it's exciting. I mean, you see the economic development activities that's occurring here in Atlanta. I mean, you look at all the cranes, you drive downtown. I mean, there's wonderful activity that's occurring here, economic activity. We've got to make sure that this activity is occurring all across this state. And so working with the communities, working with the State Economic Development Department, I mean, there's a lot of work that's being done to make sure that we're doing that. One of the other things that we get really excited about is during this period last year, after May 25th and the death of George Floyd, there was this wonderful sensitivity and awareness of racial injustice. And there was this great challenge not only to government, but to the entire country and to the entire communities about what do we do about it. And so we at our company started this adventure that we call Moving to Equity. And we started a lot of conversations across our company about race, and listening and talking to people and having some very difficult, uncomfortable conversations about the topic of race and what does it mean to us as our company? How do we make sure that everybody in our company feel valued, feel appreciated, what we call feel belong into that culture? And so as we have moved through that process, one of the things some fundamentals that we said we were going to do, it wasn't going to be episodic. Because a lot of times you see things in our country and with this short time we got this short attention span today. I mean, we live in this 140 character word society, and we got to do things very quick, and we hit it and we move on. But as you focus on culture, as you focus on things like injustice, you say, okay, how do we make sure we do this and we do it in a fundamental way that we'll be doing this forever? And so the conversations that our company have continued, the commitments that we've made in terms of talent, recruiting work internal, cultural work inside, but also what do we do in communities in terms of making investments and with social justice organizations, continue to make investments to lift up distressed and disadvantaged communities. What do we do around supplier diversity? What do we do with our political involvement? And then how do we make sure we hold ourselves accountable that throughout the course of the year, we will benchmark ourselves against other entities, and then we'll report about how we're doing. And we're going to do what we call a transformation report that will highlight all of the work that we're doing, looking at how we measure up against others, and then start the whole process all over again starting next year and continue that process forever to make sure that we're better, to make sure that we're inclusive, that everybody feels involved, everybody feels fully engaged. I mean, I'll tell you a story, and I started these things actually before May 25th, these things I call lunch tables. And so the first one I did, we just, at lunch table, LUNCHTABLE, one word, not two words. And that we video these things, and these are basic lunch table conversations that if me and Jamie or me and Vince Thompson were just sitting, kind of filming those conversations and taking those all across, broadcasting them all across the company. First one I did was a bunch of black employees. And it went also very well. We started doing with other employees, with Hispanic employees, with gay employees, with disabled employees. And so these things have gone so very well. And I'll tell you, I did one with a number of gay employees. And our company is very traditional. And I'll tell you, like I said, we had been doing them virtually because of COVID. But when we had a bunch of employees who talked about their process of coming out and letting their colleagues know they were gay and having those kind of open conversations, it was so moving to me to say, okay, we are in fact making a difference. We are making a difference. And that's what I feel that we must continue to do. Yes, we've got a great big company to run, and we're going to run that company. We got to make sure that we continue to supply the state with the energy and the power that it needs. We've got to make sure from a customer service standpoint that whenever you need us, that we're there to respond to you, to meet your needs. Our customer service process has got to continue to evolve. We do very well. We're going to continue to do better. One of the things we've taken pride for so long that if you call us, we're there. You can get us on the phone. One of the things I've challenged our team is that I want you to engage with us. Everything be done be virtual through technology. All that engagement, whether you need new service, whether you need new pricing, whether you need whatever you need, we have the platform that you can engage with us in a technological way, but making sure that our service standards are as high as they ever have been. We've gotten wonderful recognitions, and I want to make sure that we do that. So firstly, yeah, we've got to run that business. But I do think as business leaders, we also have to we got to be activists. We can't simply, one other line I say now inside of our company is that all the issues that we face out on the street, for so many years we've said, okay, those issues are on the street, we're gonna leave those out there, close the door, and we're gonna be so antiseptic inside, we don't worry about those things that are occurring out there. We can't no longer do that. Those issues that occur on the street are inside of our company, inside of our businesses, and we've got to deal with them. And we can't be afraid to deal with. We can't be afraid to talk about them. And guess what? We can do both. We can run our business. We can have a world-class business, and we will. We're going to do that. But we're also going to have a fully engaged environment inside of our company as we go through this cultural evolution that we see inside of our businesses, inside of our companies, inside of all of our organizations. And so that's a few things I wanted to say. Let me stop and see what questions you have, and did I prompt you to think of anything else that you want to talk about that I'll be glad to respond to.
So, Chris, if anybody's got a question, I think we've got some microphones that we'll pass around, so if you could.
Yes. We got one back there.
Stand up, have to talk now. Chris, thank you for being here. I'm kind of looking out the next 10, 15 years.
Yep.
Great time to be in the electric industry, I think. You mentioned the microgrids,
Yep.
community power.
Mhm.
Do you see that as potential competition at a certain point to Georgia Power? Or how do you balance that with the ESG goals of the company and all this public, I'd say, service that you've been doing for a time?
Yeah. No, I don't see it as a competition. I see it as kind of a part of how we're going to run our system going forward. Like I said, fundamentally, and yeah, I speak a lot about the fundamentals because I think that if we get that right, then we can do a lot of other things. Yeah, but as we have operated Central Station Power for so long, that's been how we run the business, and that's how we kind of keep these wires up and support the grid. As we look at more distributed resources, meaning things are less central, things are spread out in other places, that's what's going to happen. Because we've got customers now, they want this higher reliability, but they also want this higher degree of resilience in terms of storms, different conditions, but also withstand any kind of hacks and cyber issues. So resiliency becomes very, very important. And I do think as we look at more distributed sources, and the good thing about that and how that aligns with the ESG efforts is those things probably will be solar, battery, and maybe some gas resources, but they will have a very, very clean footprint. So that sustainability that will go along with those distributed sources will in fact align with the directions that we're taking around ESG. So I see the two things very, very compatible as we move forward in that direction. But a good question. Yeah,
Thanks for being here. You mentioned electric cars. And
Yeah.
the market penetration continues to grow every day.
yep.
What is Georgia Power doing to support the infrastructure, specifically charging stations throughout the state? Is that something y'all will look to be involved in, or is that?
Oh my God, my heavens, we're gonna be dropped, all over that. My thing is, and I challenge the team every day, to look at new ways to talk about the charging infrastructure. Whether you wanna drive from Atlanta to Athens, or Athens to Tuscaloosa, y'all catch that? Or Tuscaloosa to Athens. Yeah, however you wanna go there or get there. You can do that in your EV and you will have no anxiety. The word anxiety has been used in this ecosystem for a little while, that people are anxious about not having enough power. We're gonna eliminate anxiety. We've got a couple of programs now to work with companies as they want to put charging infrastructure in their facilities. We got programs working with cities, but we're going to expand a lot of those opportunities to make sure that no matter where you go, no matter where you want to go, you'll be able to charge. Because, it's coming. And for the long time, and a lot of us old guys, Craig Bars and a lot of other folks, we remember back in 1996. Like I said, that's why I say old guys. But, coming after the Olympics in Atlanta, all the RAV4s and EV1s and all of those things that were cool but not really fun to drive. They didn't have power steering. So if you wanted to get a workout, you just hopped in an EV and try to turn it. It just wasn't fun. And so we were trying to convince the auto manufacturers to get into that business. We were the ones encouraging them to do this. And they said, no, we don't want to, we still want to go do this combustion thing. They didn't see the market for EVs. We've had to make the cultural change, the cultural shift. We don't have to go to the OEMs and the manufacturers now to convince them to do this. They're doing this themselves. The Rivians, the Lucids, the Lordstown Motors, the work that we just talked about, what's happening at Porsche and the Taycan, and what Mercedes is doing in Tuscaloosa with their EQ series. Everybody is doing it. And so it's coming, and we want to enable it and be there so that each of you, when you choose to make that decision, that you'll do it, and you'll be very comfortable in making that choice, because the infrastructure is in place for you to operate, just like you do now, with no worries, no fears. And I think you'll love it. If you ever have a chance to drive that Taycan, do it, and go as fast as you can. It is so cool. It is so cool. What else? Yes, sir.
So we know that this is kind of the future that is going in, and a lot of the infrastructure will need to be built in certain areas. Now, I think one thing that we need to see is that sometimes with that change, there are usually people that will try to push back in some of those areas. Like, for example, we would need to build like solar panel infrastructure in some rural areas. How would you go about convincing that population there that it's benefiting not just for like cities like this, but also for those individuals there as well?
It benefits everybody. And so, if you look at now, most of the solar that's installed in the state is in South Georgia. That's where it is. And we've had farmers who've chosen to plant solar panels rather than corn and peanuts and other agricultural crops, because they get this recurring payment stream. And so they found that it's been a wonderful financial return and reward for them. At the same time, I think as they do that they see the value and the benefits of it. And so will they then also migrate and move to rooftop solar for their own properties? Because, they see it and they become more comfortable with it. And so I think you're going to see, as all this technology becomes much, much, much more efficient, I think you will see this integration in a lot of places that you otherwise would not thought it would be. I mean, because like it's, and the thing that you and all your businesses and as you study things, I think we all have to, technology is scary sometimes, but technology is real. And it's just only speeding up. I mean, I was reading just the other day about metaverse and these digital avatars and how everybody's how whether it's NVIDIA and all these other companies moving to the metaverse for all of us for this new engagement we're gonna have. I mean, you can live and experience this concert with Ariana Grande if that's what you choose to do, and kind of be there with her, you know, with whatever avatar you choose to be. But understanding what all this means and where it's going, I don't know, but I know it's going to happen, and it's going to change so much of what we do, and so it's a great challenge that we all have. I mean, like I said, I speak a lot about the fundamentals because I think we got to get the fundamentals right. At the same time, I try to challenge our team to make sure that we are looking around the corner, looking what's next, and making sure that we're not afraid of technology and kind of giving it the Heisman, but understanding not only what it means to us, but also what it means to you and how you're going to use it. And then that will also help inform us in terms of how we have to run and manage our business. It's a brave new world. I mean, one of the things I was saying to a group just the other day, I mean, some of us, once again, it's kind of generational in age, but I think when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon, some of us remember exactly where we were that day when that happened, when it's that one small step for man, one small step for mankind, that famous line. But we've got space rockets going up, about every hour now? I mean, so going to the moon, going to Saturn, doing things, it just ain't a big deal. And so those things just tell us kind of, do we want to stop technology? You can't. And so what does it mean for us? What does it mean for you? How do we harness it? How do we embrace it? How do we take advantage of it to make our lives better, but also to make our companies better and help us make a better product for all that we do? And as we do all of that, making sure that we are being good citizens, good humans, and that we're doing all the right things to care for others. And as a group of good, thoughtful leaders like you guys, we don't have the luxury also to kind of sit on the sidelines and leave stuff just to other people. You say, okay, well, we talk about politics and how divisive it is and how ugly it is, how horrible it is, and how kind of knucklehead they are. We got to involve ourselves there. We can't leave it just to them. We can't leave it just to them. You know, we've got to make sure we got to make sure we're making friends who are different than we are, that we're finding ways to bring people together to eliminate this divisiveness that we see in this country far too often today. And so, you know, people say, okay, you just need to run the power company. Yeah, we're going to do that. But I think we also got to challenge ourselves to do a lot more stuff. We just can't be that 8 to 5 person. We gotta put in a few more hours doing some other things, making a difference, giving back, helping somebody out. That's the challenge I have for myself. That's the challenge I give Crystal all the time, and as she listens to me ramble about a bunch of different things on an ongoing basis. But also, it's also a lot of fun. I mean, my heavens, I mean, it's like, my glass is half full every day because I think there are incredible opportunities to chase. Vince Thompson and I have been chasing opportunities for 40 years now, making stuff happen, making noise, creating magic. And that's what I think we all got to do. What else? Yes.
My name is Charlize Brown. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And thank you for touching on the diversity part. And so following the murder, my question is, following the murder of George Floyd, and when you were trying to implement these DE&I initiatives, what were some of the barriers that you faced in your company? And
and you guys invited me to speak, so you got to put up with me and my frankness. So I don't talk about diversity. I do, but that's not my foundation. I talk about race. Okay? Because I think diversity is a lot more comfortable language for white people. Okay? And I don't care about making them uncomfortable. So I talk about race because I think until we get comfortable talking about race, understanding it, what it means, and all the issues that this country has wrestled with, until we get more comfortable there, we're really not going to advance. And so barriers has been, some don't believe we're serious about it. That is episodic. It's just something we're going to move through and go on. And listening to employees, it's a lot of misunderstandings about a lot of things. That's why, for us, it's a lot about talking. Because I'll never forget when some black employees shared with their white colleagues about having to tell their children about driving while black. A lot of folks had never heard that before. So what does that mean? So they'll go through the exercise of how they tell their African-American son that once you get your driver's license, if you get pulled over by the cop, this is what you got to do. What do? You put your hands on the wheel. You don't move. You don't reach for anything. You don't reach for you. So you put your hands on the wheel. You don't speak back. But just going through that whole tutorial was so informative to people that it starts other conversations about other learnings, and so people begin to share experiences. And so we use that kind of as the foundation. And because we didn't start with just, okay, we're going to do these programs. Because I think that's where people get in trouble, because if you don't deal with the fundamentals of these issues, then you really don't do the right program. So as we talked, as we listened, as we kind of reflected, then that led into the framework around the programs that we thought we needed to invest in terms of both internal, from a recruiting talent standpoint, but also from a work environment and cultural standpoint, and then focused on the other things around supplier diversity, around community investment, around distress and disadvantaged communities, around all the other elements. And so, and then creating this framework that says we're gonna be in this journey for a very, very long time. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pushback. I can't say a lot, but there is, because it's uncomfortable stuff. But I think it's so reflective of kind of where we are as a society and this cultural evolution that we're going through. And not that there needs to be a business case for this work, because I think it's the right thing to do. But if you got to look at the latest census, you look at how the population shifts, the workforce changes that are taking place, it's going to be a more diverse work experience that you're going to have. And so how do we make sure we're doing the right things to make sure that we're creating cultures and environments in these workplaces for people to fully collaborate, fully be productive, to fully feel like, okay, I'm being treated fair. I can be all I can be inside this company. So it's not a quick fix, not a light switch you turn on and all of a sudden everything works out and everything's fine. It's a commitment you got to make over the long haul. And that's kind of where we're focused in. And it's not about kind of how you present yourself externally, but my audience for this work is how do the employees feel about, are we credible internal? Do they believe what we're doing? Are we doing the right things internal? So that's kind of some of the work that we do, and having all the senior leaders involved. Tom Fanning kind of chairs the work, and then we've got executive sponsors and a lot of people involved. So it's a full-fledged experience that we're going through. Yes, Buzz. They're out there somewhere, Crystal. I don't know. I mean,
You can follow Chris on LinkedIn. They're all posted there. And also, if you go to Southern Company's website, they have a Moving to Equity website that's linked to on southerncompany.com, and they are posted there as well.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, lunch tables are there. Yes? My grandmother. My grandmother didn't have a high school education. My grandmother, she started getting a supplemental insurance check probably when she was mid-60s. And so my grandmother always told me I could do whatever I wanted to do. I never knew what that meant. I mean, I didn't know power company executives. I didn't know executives. I mean, the role models I had were preachers and principals. I mean, those are the kind of images that I saw in terms of what I thought I could be, potentially a baseball player. But she always said, you can be whatever you want to be. And my grandmother worked hard. I mean, she played by the rules. The other thing was, as difficult as it was for her, she was never angry, never mad. She was never a victim. And so that motivation always just challenged me to pursue things and do things I didn't think I could do. But I just did them anyway. Go places I didn't think I needed to go, but I go anyway and experience it and learn things and became flexible, adaptable to do a lot of things that I've been fortunate to have the opportunity of doing. And the other thing is we always had a lot of fun. I mean, we didn't know we were poor, but we had a blast doing it. We had a blast being poor. I mean, eating brim every afternoon or whatever. Some of y'all don't know what brim is, okay? I mean, a mess of brim, that's what I live for. I mean, and the simple things is what mattered. And so that's kind of foundationally part of my journey, that sky's the limit. Yeah.
You talked a little bit about technological innovation and
Yeah.
basically what's going to ultimately result in unpredictability of the grid. Given an asset life cycle of 15 to 20 years for the infrastructure, I mean, what's Georgia Power doing to prepare for all of this?
We have preventative maintenance schedules, but the other part of it is making sure we take full advantage of data. And so whether it's data analytics, artificial intelligence, making sure that we are learning to buy into machine learning in terms of, I love humans, I really do, okay? I really love humans. But machines sometimes can be a lot more smarter than we can. And so as we make a full-fledged commitment to data analytics and understanding what maintenance schedules are for certain equipment and how we make sure we do all the predictive work, and as we operate this grid, that's going to operate a lot different than it ever has before, because grid's got to be balanced. Because if you don't have balance on both sides of this grid, one side's going to collapse. And so one of the things, we worry about as it becomes more distributed, I mean, keeping that balance becomes a lot more difficult. So once again, relying on technology. There are these things called distributed energy resource management systems, called DERMS. Once again, a bunch of algorithms, a bunch of machines that will operate certain resources at a certain time to make sure things are always in balance. And so as we look down the road, and like I said, whether it's your electric vehicle in your garage or somebody somewhere else, you got a microgrid somewhere, how are all those systems integrated into this new system? And how is the system operating to make sure this balance and stays up and is reliable? So a lot of fun stuff. But I'm with you. But we're thrilled about it because it's going to happen. But we're going to be there to make sure that fundamentally your power's on. You may have a brief interruption, but we're going to also make sure we service it and get it back up, but making sure that this state is powered and given the resources that it has to continue to grow and prosper. But it's a brave new world. It really is. Yes?
Chris, thank you so much for speaking today. You touched on resilience in cyber and, given the critical infrastructure that you guys have, how do you stay ahead of the curve when the risk landscape changes basically daily from a cybersecurity perspective?
Hiring a bunch of crazy people who I mean, that 600-pound guy in an apartment in New Jersey who's sitting there on a computer trying to figure out how to hack us about 2 million times a day, making sure that we engage with people like that, make sure that we have the best people in the industry to put in place the best systems as possible, but also not being complacent, knowing that particularly now in this space and in our business, it's not just that 600-pound guy, but it's also that 600-pound gorilla of China, of North Korea. You got of Russia, of this nation state engagement in this effort where they seek to control the grid. And so knowing that we can't be complacent, we gotta always keep fixing things, getting better, running faster than anybody else. But that is a full commitment on our part from a cyber standpoint to make sure that we're protecting our grid, protecting our system, protecting all of your data. But that is a big commitment that we focus on inside of our company because it's real. Yeah.
Talk about finding a balance. In terms of pursuing a doctorate, how did you make that decision and how did you balance it all?
I don't do balance well. I don't do balance well. One day I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. I mean, I had a few free minutes, and I thought I wanted to do it. And so I went over and talked to some professor over at Clark Atlanta University, and we began to talk about it. So I took one class, and I took another one, so you just kind of work through it. I did 2 one semester. I'm doing now 1 most semesters. But it's difficult because these doctoral professors force you to think a lot different. I mean, it's not just going in, you telling them kind of sharing your opinions because, yeah, I got all this experience. They don't care about that experience. They're looking at the theory behind it. I mean, everything that happens, why does it happen? Then you got to research to confirm or deny, did it really happen the way we thought it happened? So, I mean, it's the depths of the work and the learning is pretty fascinating to me, actually. So I enjoy it. But we'll find a way to get it done. Yes?
So I think some of the people here might be people that are here to network and find a new job. Some people might be in HR, managing employees, talking about all kinds of things from, race and inclusion, these lunch tables, and then getting to know your employees and even following up with people that are no longer your employees. I have family that worked at Georgia Power for over 30 years, so you retained them well. But maybe you can help speak to some of the people here that are struggling to retain employees, to hire and recruit. Kind of how are you handling this new phase as the workforce changes?
A lot of employee engagement, a lot of employee communications, and a lot of discussion inside the company about leadership also. And leadership, I'm not the only leader inside of our company. There's a great big conversation now about everybody, particularly supervisors, everybody's being a leader. And so if you do exit interviews with employees, it used to be some 7, 8 out of 10, you say why people left, changed jobs. It wasn't because of the money. It was because of the relationship they had with their supervisor or the relationship they didn't have with their supervisor because the supervisor was not a good leader. And so we have to make sure, and we've done it in our company. Yeah, I mean, if you're a good engineer, you designed that line out there and you did that line very well. We love the way you did it. We wanted to keep you and retain you and promote you. Guess what we did? We made you a supervisor. Well, because you're a good engineer and designed the line doesn't mean you're a good leader. Now, I've got to help you become a good leader. I got to challenge you and give you all the tools and resources to do that, but don't let me just assume inherently that you're going to be a good leader, a good motivator just because you're a good design engineer. And so I think companies have got to say, okay, yeah, we know the elephant in the room. People are leaving, choosing not to go back to work for a lot of reasons. They enjoyed the sabbatical. They enjoyed working virtually. They enjoyed being at home. And so it's not only just competing against another potential employer, but it's competing against another different lifestyle. And so you say, yeah, some people do want more money, so what's your compensation package? But also what's the experience people want to have, and what does that engagement look like? And so being honest and having some real honest conversation with employees, and I think is central in this process. And don't be afraid of it. You know, recognize that is there. I mean, I saw a survey about a month ago. PricewaterhouseCoopers surveyed all the employees, and some 65% of them said they were thinking about leaving. Because they didn't want to do all that hard consulting work. They didn't want to travel 4 days a week. They want to do something different. And so what do? You got to adapt. Or you got to say, this don't work for us, I got to go find somebody else. But I mean, and we're talking about bringing our employees back to our corporate offices the Monday after Thanksgiving. And so we talk about virtual, we talk about hybrid, we talk about who will be in the office 2 or 3 days a week. No matter what we do, what's going to be stamped on top of everything we say in that regard is going to be flexibility. Flexibility. Companies, managers, that whole work experience has got to be embraced with a high degree of flexibility as we go forward, as we kind of navigate kind of where we're going. And don't be afraid to be flexible. And you're going to be flexible and fair at the same time. Yeah. That's essential. that too is a fundamental.
I think we might have time for one quick question.
Yeah.
My name is Li King, but I will go with Isabella to make it easier for everybody, so you don't call me Li, because every Chinese call Li in movie, and I don't like that. Two quick questions. Well, actually, the first thing that you said, black father tell black son that when you got pulled over, put your hands on the wheel. And that's what my white husband told me when I got my driver licenses. If I got pulled over, put my hands on the wheel and don't reach for my purse
Yep.
until I'm told to.
Yep.
Second, my question is, I'm in my profession at VA with UGA right now. I'm looking at PhD, but if I don't plan to become a professor to teach, do you think it's worth the time to invest time to do PhD right after my MBA, or I should invest my time to work for PwC for many years and then pursue my PhD later?
I think that's clearly a personal decision. Once again, my knucklehead thinking, I said I got my undergraduate degree for my family and for my community. They were very proud when I got my undergraduate degree. I got my graduate degree for business reasons, to get more money to compete with others and whatever. This doctorate is all mine. I'm doing that for my own personal self-gratification. It has nothing to do with no career aspirations, nothing. Only reason I'm doing that is for Chris Womack. Yep, that's mine.
I think I should be enough to compete myself down with my MBA. Maybe I'll pause for one.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. Hold on. Thank you for being here. Just as a small token of our appreciation, we give all of our speakers in the speaker series the sculpture. So thank you. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Appreciate everybody being here. Some great questions. Love all the questions and interaction. It's great. So with that, again, we will be on a hiatus next month, so we will not be here. If you show up on the third Thursday, probably won't be anybody in here. But I like the motivation if you are here. So, yeah, come back in January. Before you leave, please make sure you get your parking validated at the receptionist desk. And thank you all. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you soon. Take care.